You just said you made this conversion in what year?
I think it was 2018 I started investing, yeah.
Okay, well, I just for, as a point of fact, for what it's worth, May 14th, 2019, you came on television and called Bitcoin garbage.
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's worthless.
Well, I
called it garbage this morning.
I want to explore the idea. Yeah, I did say that. I want to explore the idea that there's nothing here except raw speculation. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel, because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying real capital? Let's talk real money here.
We are glad to have you back in Market Empire. Kevin O'Leary is continuing to make a fool of himself in the Sam Bankman-Fried controversy. And now we are able to see that the CEO of Binance, CZ, was correct. When Kevin O'Leary assumed the role of front and center damage control representative for FTX and SBF, he was not being entirely truthful. O'Leary seems to be a chess piece for the face of FTX, despite the numerous indictments that Bankman-Fried is facing, and now the alternative facts are beginning to stack up. O'Leary's involvement in these proceedings raises many questions, particularly considering that he has already been compensated for his role as a spokesman. It begs the question of what kind of deal was struck in the background to allow him to continue speaking for SBF as well. Kevin O'Leary drew particular attention to himself when he tried to blame the collapse of FTX on the CEO of Binance, CZ, for purchasing their assets back. This caused regulators and federal officials to be suspicious because the evidence did not point in that direction. O'Leary's statements appear to be more of a distraction or a publicity stunt, as he seems to pose more questions than he can answer. The CEO of Binance, CZ, then responded to the allegations that O'Leary was making, in which he directly called O'Leary a liar and pointed out the confusion that O'Leary was trying to generate. Let's check out the interview that O'Leary gave to CNBC in which he reacts to CZ's comments. Listen carefully for any inconsistencies in what he has to say.
Now, let me address something before we go any further. Yesterday on the air, CZ called me a liar. That suggests that I perjured myself in front of the U.S. Senate for 2 hours this week. I can assure you that is not the case. At the end of the day, I have no ill will to this guy, but he's part of the story too. And you found out yesterday, you did a little work with Squawk Box. We talked about it either being $2 billion or $3 billion, that transaction. That's the largest transaction, I think, of anything in there regarding the balance sheet in recent 24-month period. And he confirmed it was $2.1 billion. And then he confirmed that he still had $550 million, $500 million of FTT tokens. Now, at some point, we're going to look at that week of November 6th, and you ask anybody, why was Sam Bankman-Fried or the whole company FTX forced into bankruptcy? It was jamming down that last $500 million that gave them no option. Now, is that the fatal stroke or blow to get rid of your global competitor? I say yes. And I'll tell you something else. Right after that interview, I got a phone call, or actually it was a text, from a lobbyist in Washington saying, don't go anywhere, you're coming back. So I bet CZ bought himself an invitation to Washington yesterday. Can't wait to meet him there. We can go sightseeing.
If he did do it, maybe it was a favor to everybody if it unveiled a Ponzi scheme that might have still been going on otherwise.
Well, remember, he was trying to buy the business at that time. On Wednesday, the idea was he was going to buy it.
Was he doing that just to throw more shade at him? I don't know.
Well, we don't know, but obviously if he thought there was fraud, he wouldn't have made an offer to buy it. So nobody knew, including, remember, this guy's a huge shareholder of FTX, or he was, and so he didn't see the fraud either. So at the end of the day, the question becomes clawback. You've been talking about it for the last 2 days. Is that $2.1 billion Madoff-style clawback? Who knows? But if I get on that credit committee, I'll be one of the guys doing the clawing. So I'm looking forward to that, because I think at the end of the day, every shareholder and account holder has to have an answer to what happened here. I normally would have written this off like the other 8 venture investments, but not this one. I'm staying on this one right to the end. I'm going to teach this course at Harvard one day in my guest lecturing. This is going to be a case. This will be a chestnut. This is an extraordinary situation right now. We
were talking about actually endorsements and endorsees. You know, obviously, Larry David was in the FTX Super Bowl commercial. Tom Brady took on his role as a spokesman of sorts for the company. You're a spokesman for the sorts of the company. Not of sorts, but were. It's funny. I don't know if it's funny. Some people wouldn't expect a Larry David or Tom Brady, maybe fairly or unfairly, to either have known or understood or necessarily done all the diligence that they should have done.
Well, let me tell you why.
But they look at you and they think that you should have.
Well, that's interesting to differentiate me. I can tell you he's a better quarterback than I am, so there's things we do differently. But let me tell you what the theory was and why Sam Bankman-Fried was hiring all these people. He was very jealous of the accounts that Coinbase had, and he wanted to figure out how to build a retail base quickly. And so it's not crazy what he did. Putting his name on an arena makes sense if you can make a brand become ubiquitous in America so that you can try and get more consumers to build that base. Maybe jealous isn't the right word, but he said they started 3 years earlier and they were way ahead of him, and he wanted to catch up. And that was the way to do it. So it's not a crazy theory. Companies advertise and they do it this way. Now, obviously, none of us would have wanted to be in this mess if we could have avoided it, but we just didn't know. And frankly, venture investing is, you can do all the due diligence you want. You're still going to get 8 out of 10 go to zero. That's been the stat since 1954 when they first started covering it in Boston.
Right.
So at the end of the day, that's the nature of investing this way. It's risky.
After that, O'Leary reiterated his position that Binance CEO CZ was to blame by writing out a tweet about obtaining FTX because of a huge liquidity constraint and bringing attention to the fact that the challenge was difficult. It was strange that O'Leary would point to that as the basis for the collapse rather than the evident fraud that occurred. Clearly, it was weird.
Bucks, you went from Charlie Munger's view on Bitcoin to Michael Saylor's view. Did that conversion coincide with the 15 million that you got from FTX?
No, I was investing 3.5 years earlier than that. I changed my mind back in early 2018 when I saw the regulators in jurisdictions like Canada, Switzerland, and Abu Dhabi start to change their minds. But I'll tell you what really got me investing, Joe. You know, I mentioned these guest lecturing things I do. They're usually to graduating cohorts of engineers. And so these are classes that are 6 to 9 at night. And these are the best and brightest at MIT or in business school at Harvard. I started to notice back in 2018, I'd say, okay, wait, where are you guys going? Where are you going? Because about a third of the class will create entrepreneurial efforts and they'll start businesses. They're all going to the blockchain.
I gotta stop you. Stop you. You just said you made this conversion in what year?
I think it was 2018 I started investing, yeah.
Okay, well, I just for, as a point of fact, for what it's worth, May 14th, 2019, you came on television and called Bitcoin garbage.
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's worthless.
Well, I
called it garbage this morning.
I want to explore the idea. I did say that. I want to explore the idea that there's nothing here except raw speculation. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel, because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying real capital, let's talk real money here, and putting it into Bitcoin as a storage of value? I get gold. For 2,000 years, including the Romans, they saw value in owning that as an asset class. Tell me why this, which is basically a digital game, that's the way I look at it, has any intrinsic value. When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem for compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half? That's such a scam. Like, that's just totally BS.
Most people will no longer recognize O'Leary as Mr. Wonderful, but rather as the individual attempting to deflect attention away from FTX and SBF's obvious fraud and financial culpability. We will have to wait and see what further financial compensation O'Leary is receiving for his extended role. What are your thoughts on Kevin O'Leary's shift in position, and what do you predict for the Sam Bankman-Fried saga? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel.